Hello and welcome to the 445 Productive Through Joy show with your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher. This show airs each weekday morning, hella early at 4:45 a.m., hella early AF here on YouTube's Michael Datcher channel and goes into 5 a.m. Then at 4:45 p.m., a different topic, same powerful show on Facebook Live. We today are talking about the really powerful topic of surrender and productivity, a really interesting topic, as you'll soon see. If you're new to the show, we are a show aimed at entrepreneurs, those who have their own business, those who like to own their own business, and those who simply want to live in abundance like a boss. As you may be able to also discern from the show's title, we're also interested in the idea of using joy itself as a technology to move us towards our goals and objectives. As we know from 10th grade science, there is a scientific imperative behind the feeling of joy. When the body is feeling joyful, what's happening at a biochemical level is that the body is flooding itself with endorphins, and those endorphins give us a sense of euphoria that we can then leverage to move ourselves towards our goals and objectives. We encourage everyone on the show to start their own business that they may be able to eventually live in abundance like a boss, to fund their family's dreams, to fund their neighborhood dreams, to fund their community dreams. All right. Again, today we're talking about surrender to guidance, as we'll get into in a second. Surrender and productivity. What is the tie between those two things? If you are, let me first say, I was going to say if you are new, and many of you are new to the show, what happens, let me say a few words about myself in a second, but let me encourage you to go to productivethroughjoy.com, see about us. We offer live one-on-one Productive Through Joy consulting. We also primarily speak to large groups, organizations, schools, nonprofits, youth organizations, for example, and give presentations in a group setting as to how folk can become more productive through joy. You can learn more about those programs at productivethroughjoy.com, or simply go to michaeldatcher.com. If you're enjoying the show now, please swipe left or right across your device to invite people to join the conversation. All right. So again, for those who are new, this is your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher. I am the author of the New York Times bestseller Raising Fences, which was a Today Show Book of the Month pick. That book's film rights were also optioned by the actor Will Smith, whose people called my people, and I eventually agreed to write the screenplay for that particular project. I'm also the author of Americas, an historical novel coming out February in 4 weeks, 2018, on Third World Press, in bookstores everywhere. That book is about identical twin sons. One of whom gets vitiligo, the skin disease, the so-called Michael Jackson disease. And that book interrogates the intersection between race and violence in America. Very powerful book. Look for that in bookstores everywhere. I'm also the former executive director of the World Stage, literary and jazz venue here in California. My educational background is UC Berkeley as an undergraduate. My master's is from UCLA, and my PhD is from the University of California at Riverside. I'm currently a professor of English at Loyola Marymount University here in California. I'm an expert at being productive, all right? I don't say that to brag, but people are oftentimes surprised at my level of productivity given how crazy my own personal narrative is. I am the product of a young girl who was raped at 16, gave birth to me at 17, and subsequently gave me up for adoption to a wonderful single divorcee. Yet at the time, there was no biological father, no adopted father. So listen, difficult times on various fronts for the young MD. Yet, as Kool Modi famously said, how you like me now, right? And if I can be this productive through joy, so can many of us who are watching the show. And that propels the show and also propels our business. We know what it's like to come from hardship, to come from difficulty. And sometimes people like us use our difficult origins, our hard luck story, our difficulty to be the excuse as to why we cannot ball, the excuse to why we have not ball, and the excuse to why we will not ball. I'm here to tell you that despite your origins, you can still ball until you fall. And I'm here to help you do it, to help you help yourself. So thanks for being here. Please go to, again, productivethroughjoy.com, see about us, all right? Let's dive into today's topic. We're talking today about surrender to guidance, but surrender is the broader topic. In the morning show, we like to also touch on the ideal of framing your day before your day has a chance to frame you. At times, we will wake up with trouble on our mind. That trouble will follow us through our day, and we'll go to sleep with that trouble on our mind. And along with that, we get the concomitant stress. And as we know from modern science, stress is a killer. It literally takes off years from your life. So we really help people in a very pragmatic way to deal with stress, because if you also are an entrepreneur, someone simply just trying to enhance your productivity, it's going to introduce more pressure because money is going to be involved, both the expenditure of money and also when you are making more money. It is true that more money, you're going to have more problems, more things to deal with, so, and that can be stressful. So we speak about this idea, framing your day in the context of ritual. Ritual can be defined in this context as essentially doing the same thing at around the same time in a ritualized way, in a way that's repetitive, because the body, for whatever reason, responds to that, especially at a spiritual level, which is why when you visit different types of spiritual centers or you study them, you'll see a series of rituals embedded in that particular tradition, because someone figured out a long time ago clearly that ritual helps us to go inside of ourselves and connect us to the inner power. Although that it can't just be all ritual, it's simply a technology to move us towards that direction. So let me share it's best seen through example. Let me share my brief morning ritual. So in the mornings, I wake up at 3:45. I read a couple of spiritual or business books. I do our show at 4:45 right now here on YouTube's Michael Datcher channel. And at 5, I work on my current novel until sunrise, which is around 6. I live here along the coast in Venice Beach, California. Then at 6, I go out to the beach. I meditate, I pray, I do yoga. It's very, very powerful. It's dark still. It's very, it's amazing. I come back, I work on my book a while longer, then I go back to the beach to run up the coast all the way past Santa Monica's Pier, and then come back to run back to Venice to go to my gym, to get my workout in, to get my buff on. So by 9:30, guys, I'm feeling like, I want to just growl. I'm feeling great. And I want to give. I leverage that euphoric feeling to move me towards my goals and objectives, or let the spirit, as we'll talk about today, guide me towards my goals and objectives. So, for example, now I'm reading 2 great books. I'm reading a book by Carl Lantz called Own the Moment. Bam. I'm also reading a book called The Nag Hammadi Reader, or Library. There's various versions of this book, which is a book of Gnostic scriptures, very, very powerful. And then from these 2 books, I extract some wisdom, which I call the morning chant. Today's morning chant is, as a meditating natural mystic, I surrender to the inner spirit as it guides me towards my dreams. Again, today's morning chant is, as a meditating natural mystic, I surrender to the inner spirit as it guides me to my dreams. So I think about this wisdom throughout the day. I place it on my phone, for example. I pop out as I'm going through my day and just contemplate this idea, and also create the morning and afternoon shows based upon this reading. So today we're talking about surrender and its relationship to abundance. I had a point to make, but I can't think of it right now, so we're going to move forward. So again, reach out to us. Go to productivethroughjoy.com, see about what we do, or please share this on your social media outlets. Let's dive into the topic. So today, guys, we're talking about surrender and productivity. So point 1 is, for many of us, point 1 is you want to embrace the idea of surrender. For many of us, including me, as an athlete, as a former high school athlete, but as a person who's played organized sports all of his life, almost all of my life, and have an athlete's mindset still, even as a person although my jumper is still sweet, let me just keep it real, but in terms of putting on a uniform, competing at that level, I don't do that anymore, although I still play ball, of course. But not as much as I used to, that's for sure. But it's difficult when you are an athlete, for example, when you're socialized in this society as a man in particular, the way that men are socialized, to think that surrender is good. For us, it's like surrender. No, I'm gonna fight until the end, right? And that's also, although it is gender to a certain extent because of the way men are socialized, but it's of course true for everyone. Surrender does not sound like a sweet thing, but in the spiritual context, when you can begin to know that inside of you, inside of all of us, is the original primordial thing, God itself, the thing itself, spirit, that is the same thing as the sun that co-created the sun, a galaxy in galaxies, millions of galaxies. Even though we have modern science, we don't even have a firm understanding of just how many galaxies there are. Not to mention how many stars there are. I used to watch when I was a kid the show Cosmos with Carl Sagan. You may not recall that show. And Carl would say there are billions and billions and billions of stars. He didn't even know how many stars there were back then, right? But even and the stars most of them are suns or they're planets. I mean, think about that. Earth's pretty big. There are billions. A billion is 1,000 million. Now we say that there are trillions. 1,000 billions. That's ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous. That's a lot of stars, right? The point is that the universe, that thing that created that type of expansive reality, that thing is also a part of us, inside of us. And so once you have a firm belief in that and knowledge in that, it allows you to think, wow, if I have that type of power inside of me, which goes into point two, maybe I should allow that more agency in my life to be guided by it, right, which is point two. You want to know, you want to give guidance over, you want to surrender over guidance to the thing that made not just our sun, made is, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but the thing that helped to, that manifested or that is those billions and billions, but now we say trillions and trillions of stars. It's crazy, almost impossible number to even think about, right? That thing is inside all of us. And if you can embrace that idea, that's point one. Then point two, it makes sense to give that some agency over your life, right? Some leadership over your life, to surrender to it, which goes to point two. When you can begin to surrender to that idea, that power, your life is going to get better, all right? Well, how do you do that is the question. Well, you do it, as we argue, and there's many ways, but one of the main ways is through meditating, by going in, as the ancient Egyptians or ancient Tibetans would say, know thyself, because they figured out somehow, who even knows how they figured this stuff out back in the day, but they did 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago, that God is everywhere, including inside the self. And they thought, well, let me just go in. Since God is everywhere, God must be inside myself. And because myself is the thing closest to me, let me know myself, that I then may be able to know God. So that's simply their approach. But there are many approaches. And so through meditation, that's a way that we can essentially get a chance to know ourselves, know the God, and surrender to the God that is inside of ourselves. Guys, that's major wisdom. I mean, this is not just my knowledge. I'm just passing on the information to us because it can change your life in the positive and move you in the direction of your dreams, goals, and aspirations. And not just for you, but for your family, friends, and relations. Boom goes the dynamite. That's it for today's show. This show airs each weekday morning, hella early AF at 4:45 a.m. here on YouTube's Michael Datcher channel. Then also at 4:45 p.m. Please, if you've enjoyed the show, become a subscriber. Go to YouTube's Michael Datcher channel. Subscribe to the show. Also, let people know about the show by sharing this on your social media platforms. Have me come out and talk to your school or organization about being more productive through joy. We do this all the time. Reach out. We also offer live one-on-one productive through joy consulting. So thanks for being here. We'll see you this afternoon at 4:45 p.m. Until then, let's talk about it and be about it. Deuces.